Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Clientology Daily Insights. I'm your host, Jeff Bourgeois, and I promise this one is going to be a quick one. And don't let that fool you into thinking it's not important. It's one of those topics you need to be introduced to it, you need to ponder it for a bit, and then you can decide if you want to dive deeper into it or not. So, for those of you who don't know about us, we offer our Clientology Growth System. It is our introduction to Clientology. And the goal of that is in our 8-week intensive, we help you create and publish your own authority book, launch an influential interview series, and build a meaningful mastermind. And the goal of those three things are to help any local expert grow their business. If you want more details, you can either scan the QR code or click the link. The investment is $5,000. We have a lot of success. We're guaranteeing some things, but ultimately, we want those who believe in playing full on to show up. So if you want to invest in your business and you expect a return on your investment, come out, hold us accountable. We look forward to working with you. Now let's jump in. So today we're going to talk about the Pareto Principle. And that's a very boring topic in economics, I promise, but I'm going to hopefully make it very relevant, very interesting. So the Pareto Principle is also known as the 80-20 rule, 80-20 principle. Some people just say 80-20. I get that way. I'll say 80-20. And for those who haven't heard of it, it's based on I believe, 15th century Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto or Wilfred Pareto, something like that. Not really relevant. It's not a history lesson, but it's a natural law of the universe or phenomenon that states that roughly 80% of outcomes come from 20% of causes. So it recognizes there's a cause and effect. And if we take the time to understand the causes of things, we can greatly affect the outcomes. So this means there's two things. Number one, 80% of our outcomes come from 20% of our causes. So if we know what the 20% is, we can build an 80% business without going beyond the 20% effort. Thinking of that in practical terms, you could run a full-time business, get 80% of the expected outcomes running it one day a week, or spending, if you take a 40-hour week and break it down, it's 96 minutes a day. So really, truly, if you think about the work environment, we're paid by the hour, we're paid to fill seats. That's not the intention of why we're paid. The intention is we produce outcomes. So this is a message that resonates. If you read Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week, Perry Marshall, 80-20 Sales and Marketing, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes, a lot of books on 80-20, really, it's not about being smarter. It's not about getting more done in a day. It's the difference between being efficient and being effective. Efficient is we do whatever we do well. We use up the resources as well as we can. Effective is about asking, what should we be doing well? So an effective business will always outperform an efficient business. An effective employee will always outperform an efficient employee, because an efficient employee will do everything you ask of them, whether it's the right thing to do or not. An effective employee will prioritize and do the most important things. And maybe they're not good at the unimportant things, but who cares? That's where you have virtual assistants. That's where you can outsource. That's where you can hire. You can bring in an assistant to do the low level stuff. Let your rock stars be rock stars. And the most successful people focus on the 20% causes that generate 80% of outcomes. Now, I'm not going to explain the math here, but the cool thing about 80-20 is within every population, 80-20 applies. So whatever you're looking at, there's a rough 80-20. Now, to be fair, it might be 90-10, it might be 95-5, it might be 70-30, 60-40, but there's always a majority outcome from a minority of cause. So if you can identify the majority outcome, the minority causes, you'll always have more leverage on your effort. And again, I'm not telling you to not do the rest. I'm just saying Once you focus on the most important things, you can decide if you want to do the others. Now, the magic of 80/20 is, I said, every population. So if you, for example, had 100 clients, roughly 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients. That's the positive. The negative side is that probably 80% of your complaints come from 20% of your clients. So on the positive side, you can do more for the top end. On the negative side, you can figure out how do you eliminate or reduce those complaints. Could you put those people on autopilot? Could you remove them, or do you just fire them? But the magic is, if 80% of your income comes from 20% of your clients, within that population of 20%, there's another 80/20. And within that population, there's another 80/20. So at the second layer, we're looking at, the math works out to roughly 60%, 64% of our results, which is 80 times 80, 64% of our results come from 20% times 20%, which is 4%. So 64% of our results come from 4%. And when we go layer 3, we get into the deep math, but the reality is about 51% of our results come from about 0.8, less than 1%, 0.8% of our effort. So the reason I tell you that, I, for some reason, didn't get really excited about 80/20, but when I boiled it down, did the math, and I realized that 51% of my outcomes come from about 1% of causes, I can be a lot less busy if I know what that 1% cause is, and I get 51% of my outcome. Now, I realized that I was being lazy working 100-hour weeks because I wasn't filtering, I was just doing. So now what I do, I sit back, I'll think about it, and anything I'm touching, I'm looking for that 1% that makes the biggest difference. Because if you think about it, if I do 1% of the effort, get 50% of the results, I've got a lot more time, energy, and money to add more effort to get more result. But most people start with the 99.2% effort that gets them the 49.8% result. So by the time they get to the gravy stuff, they do all the hard stuff, all the little minuscule things, unimportant things, without thinking about what outcome does this bring me. So I'll give you a practical example because this gets really crazy. In your business, if you are a local bricks and mortar, say an accounting firm, most accountants will run out and they spend months designing a website. The reality is 80/20 applies to the website. Find the most important things you need. And honestly, if you're just starting out in business, all you need is a one-page website. Just the basic, I call it the sort of yellow book listing for credibility. You don't need to get into the content. You don't need to wait months to write everything. You don't need months worth of blog posts. You just need a simple landing page where people can come and say, oh yeah, they're real, they're online. Setting up your email at your domain, that's a huge credibility factor. You can do that quickly and easily. So instead of just saying I'm designing a website, which is a months-long project, think about the 1% of the tasks you can do today, check it off, that'll move your business forward. So we're always looking for momentum. And I think what I love about 80/20 is it's about how do we get the most results as quickly as possible with the fewest inputs. So it's both effective and efficient. Again, you can be efficient without being effective. You can be effective without being efficient, but the most successful businesses are effective first and then efficient. And that's what I love about 80/20. And I just want to say that 80/20, the Pareto Principle, is the core, the foundation of clientology. At every step of the way, we're asking, what do we need to do first? We're asking, what do we need to do next? And the key there is, what do we need to do? Not what do we want to do? What do we think we should do? What do we think we have to do? It's what do we need to do? So every day, the question for us, for our clients, is what do we need to do today for you to move forward to succeed? And by the way, one of the things we talk about, prioritizing tasks and business efforts, I apply 80/20 to strategy first. So we pick the 20% of the strategies that give us 80% of our outcome. And then within each strategy, we do 80/20, at least 2, 3 layers deep, so that we're getting the most impact without putting in a lot of effort. And that's where we come in with, say, an authority book. The goal of the authority book is to reach the most people as quickly as possible, close deals, build relationships. So that's the heart of clientology, and not many people would share their secret sauce, but the reality is I believe that more entrepreneurs really need to understand the Pareto principle and how they can reduce the effort they put in and increase the results they get out. By the way, this applies to employees. You're going to have the rock star employees that, you know, 20% of your employees will be rock stars. They'll generate 80% of outcomes. 20% of your employees will be the bottom of the barrel that cause 80% of your problems. So the goal is, how do you maximize your rock stars? How do you minimize the impact of your bottom dwellers, the ones who are struggling? And again, I'm not saying get rid of them. I'm just saying, if you have a struggling employee and you worked with them, I guarantee they're struggling because they're trying to do everything. Help them find their 1% that gives them 51.2% of their outcomes. Because if they understand that 1%, they will by default be a 51% employee. If you help them get better, they will get better. But 80/20 elevates the entire team. And again, I say that we use it to prioritize tasks. I start at the project, the strategic level. Once we've got the strategy sorted, then we can worry about tasks and business efforts. And the biggest thing I would say, if you get that, I think there's actually a book called The 1% Solution. I have a passion for another book called The Slight Edge, where we're looking for 1% daily improvement. If we focus on the big, we get the strategy right, the small, minute details at the end of the day don't matter. Because again, you could be a perfectionist and you can have 80% of your business running perfectly, but you're only getting 20% results from it. Whereas if you're a Pareto perfectionist, you have 20% of your business as perfected as it can be, and you'll get 80% of the result. You've got nowhere to go but up from there if you know and master that 20%. And again, if you master the 1% and make that perfect, your business is at 51.2% without putting in a lot of effort. So start with the big. The small don't matter in the end. I thank you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Pareto Principle. So comment below, how does the Pareto Principle apply to me? Thank you.